How's it going, everyone? Is the sound okay? And the video? Everything working all right? Hi, 521 Taipei. I can't believe it's Saturday. I can't believe it's 2023. We're halfway through it already. Hey, Apar and fan and neighbor, how you guys doing? Ian, how are you? Or Ivan, I mean, Ian. Ivan. Hi, Javi. How's it going? Brian, good day, good day, good day. Ref, Ref. Hi, Jonathan. Tuna, good to see you. Apar. All right, guys. Let me start off with an announcement first. Hello there, Graham. Eric, good to see you guys. Okay. On October 20th, Caesar, on October 20th, the Watch Time show in New York is on. They just tickets just went on sale. Now, I got them for the Friday night party. Sometimes I go to the ones they have on Saturday. They'll have seminars and a few other things. But the interesting stuff is Friday night when they have the party and you get together and there are a lot of people there, but not quite as many as there are during Saturday and Sunday. So if you're interested, take a look, go online and the Watch Time show. It's a great time, especially for collectors, to meet one another, and of course, you get to see all of the new watches that they have, and also meet all of these top watchmakers like Harry Vuitton and Armand Strom. Also, H. Moser is going to be there this year. This may be the first year they've had it. I'm really interested in seeing what they have. So anyway, it'd be a great time to meet more people, and if you can come, it'd be great to see you. Okay. Hey, Dominic, or Charm, how are you? That's these. Yeah, I know a lot of guys can't come, and I wish they could. They're having one in L.A. I think they've had it in L.A., so that's another possibility. Hi, Richard, from hot Spain, huh? Oh no, Goldfinger, how are you? Um, all right, let's talk about um micro brands. And micro brands are sort of a funny. It's sort of a funny term, and I'll tell you why. Um, you take Stefan Kadoki, who's a watchmaker in Dresden, Germany, and he made a watch. I think it was called the Kadoki One, I think, and uh, and then he made Kadoki Two, which was pretty much the same watch except it had a night day indicator on it, and it won a Grand Prix award for I think it was the Petite Aiguille Award, and I don't think anybody ever considered him a micro brand. Okay, and now he's got a third one. He's got the third one that Kadoki's done. Uses that multi-arm hand where you have these three arms come out at different, and then they have different levels of the different rows, I guess, sort of interconnected rows and with different times. Really a cool thing. Anyway, uh, never. I don't know anyone who ever said that's a micro brand. On the other hand, I've seen some other ones that come up and people refer to them immediately as micro brands. So let me give you an example. Last week, I think it was. Well, I think it was last week. Yeah, last Monday. I d- I opened up a box with a company named Du Moreau, and Du Moreau, the watch they had this gorgeous watch that was designed by a guy who knew about designing. He was the industrial designer, and he did all of this for it. uh, put in an elaborate Salida SW210, had it for sale for $1,250. Probably considered a micro brand, but if it grows to some point and the quality, both in terms of the movement and some of the other elements of it, increase, it goes from being a micro brand to a brand, or a new brand, or something like that. Anyway, I just sort of thought, let's talk about that. Um, shouldn't Kadoki be an indie brand? Yes, so's Rolex. So they're both indies. Um, I don't know. I excuse me. A lot of the micro brands, I don't know what it's like a bunch of guys get together and say, "Hey, let's," you know, I don't know whether it's a bunch of guys or one guy says, "Hey, I got an idea. I want to have a watch brand." So uh, they get the wherewithal and they have a number of them produced, and that's where they come from. The crowdfunding ones, they raise the money from a crowd, and everybody gets, I guess, an ownership in it or something like that. Um, so I don't know. That's how is that a micro brand? Hi, Tuna. Hang on a sec. There we go. Okay, let's see. Tuna, master watchmakers can skip the micro brand tech. I think you're right. I agree. I agree with that, Tuna. Washington football fan, maybe the term has taken on a new definition. I thought a micro brand was a company without its own movement. All the parts are sourced. Uh, if all of the brands told all of the truth all of the time, you'd find very few that didn't do that. Um, Sort of like you take, for example, for years, Omega or Omega. I got some snotty letter from some guy. Wow, how to pronounce Omega? I don't know what the right one is, but that's what I call it. I used to call it Omega, and then I was told call it Omega, so I call it Omega. Anyway, they had ETA movements in them. Uh, IWC, Omega, Breitling, Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer still does, and sometimes they fudged the deal and called them something else, gave it sort of some name. At one time, Bremont got into a lot of trouble because they sort of implied that they had an in-house movement that wasn't, and um, Roger Smith got all over their case about it. So I never considered companies like Bremont and a lot of these other ones as micro brands. They've been around, and they have, by the way, too. Bremont has one of the best cases. They have these incredible cases that they have for their watches, but then they have an ETA in them, and people go, nah, or a Solita. Um, to me, the big thing is that we know that there are 4 grades to ETAs, but now that ETA isn't, outside of, the Swatch Group, what you have instead is that you have Solita that's sort of like I don't wanna say a clone, but sort of a mirror image of, ETA because of its history with ETA. And they have 4 grades too. They have the standard grade, they have the what they call the elaborate grade, they have the top grade, and then they have the COSC grade. Well, you stick a COSC grade Solita into a watch. We'll say their whatever their standard is, 200, I think, SW200, and you got a pretty good, you got a pretty good movement in there. So it's sort of like, and then on the other hand, you get an established brand like Bremont, and they put something in there like that, and unless they say, "Hey, it's not ours," they get in trouble for it. So I don't know. Okay, what else? Let's see some more ideas that you guys have. Did you have time to look into Simon Brett? No, I didn't. Roger, wow, just had an 11 fighter jets fly over. I wonder what's on. Oh my God, Raj, where you live, Raj? I hope it's not near me. We live in perilous times. Hi, Wim. Panerai used ETA for a long time. Yeah, I think yeah, they have. Well, they're owned by Richemont, and I think what happens or will happen, and that's a really good example. Wim, because Richemont now has Valfluier, and they make movements for all of the quote stable. Oh, yeah, in the UK. All right. Let's see if there's a war in UK, let me know. I hope not. Do I consider Chopek a niche brand? That's a good question, and I don't. I've never considered them that. I've always considered them sort of as a even though when they got started, it's pretty mainstream, but it's a really, really good question. I happen to like Chopek, and uh, I think what Chopek does, Chopek has interesting designs and good movements in them. They don't they I'm trying to think what they have. I think they have Chronode movements, but I'm not sure. They may have Sure. I know they don't, at least as far as I know, they don't have their own movements yet. They're gonna they're going after Bremont, Raj. This'll teach you guys. I've got a soft spot for Bremont because um I interviewed what's his name? English. Um Nick English. I interviewed him a number of years ago at the Bremont boutique in New York City, and super nice guy. And he's a pilot, and I used to fly, and there's sort of you know something about that sort of made me like it more. And they were in a horrendous accident. His father was killed. It was really really bad. But they kept on with the Bremont brand. Hey, Sad, how you doing? What do you think of the Hamilton Cocky Field hand wine? I love that watch. A hand wine cocky. See, Hamilton though. Not only is it not a micro brand, it's got a history to it, and then it's owned by Swatch, and they've got a million outlets to it. Hi, Thomas. What is your opinion on Landron movements in the pecking order of ETA and it's a good question, Thomas, and I don't know an answer. I've heard of Landron, but I don't know much about them really, to tell you the truth. Hi from South Korea. How you doing? Let's see. Those jets are attacking the Bremen. Okay, that's what I thought. This will teach you guys. Um, I highly recommend Simon Britt. I have a feeling you will love it. Okay. 12 watches a year, all handmade. Whoa. Yeah, that sounds. Where are they located, Caesar? Hey, Dominic. Some master watchmakers specialize in bespoke watches. Unfortunately, such small quantities increase the cost, mostly out of reach. Yeah. Yeah, Dominic, that's exactly what happens. I mean, and there are so many watchmakers with things that I'd like to have that um I mean with watches that I'd really like to have, and I just can't afford them. I mean they're crazy expensive, and they're but as far as I'm concerned, it's worth it. This is sort of the whole concept of a master craftsman. Is what they can only because they're master craftsmen. It takes some time to do something. They only can do so many. Yeah, Raj, they can nuke pretty much, but the cases will be there. Hey, tuna, history is everything to a watch brand. I'm not sure if many of these new upstarts can overcome that fact. Tuna, the thing is that um, a, what um, the histories you'll have a history, and then someone will buy the brand. I mean, like here in the U.S., we used to have like Ingersoll, and now when I try to get a hold of Ingersoll or some office in London, and they were owned by somebody in Hong Kong. Now they've got a wonderful history, and a lot of these other watches do too. But their history came to an end. Somebody brought the name, and then went some direction. Now you take for sometimes the direction is a very good one. You take Moritz Grossmann, the German company, and they took Moritz Grossmann's name and made a watch worthy of it. I think the same thing is true with H. Moser. Um, there was a time, I think it was in the early 2000s before the Malon family bought it. Somebody who was related was involved. They were related to Moser. It was one of the Moser family, and he was there, I think, as a figurehead. But some other people got together and they started making fabulous watches. In fact, this is one of them. This is their what's it called Monad. Terrible names. They it was renamed Endeavor Center Second, and this watch has a fabulous movement. 7 days, keeps great time. 18,000 semi oscillations per hour, my kind of watch. Now, and then when the Milan family uh, or bought it, they kept it up. I mean, they even improved it. So you have something like Moser that I think started in St. Petersburg or someplace like that. Then they brought it again. Same thing with Beauvais. Beauvais was, I think, the last family connection to Beauvais was in the 1930s or early 1940s, somewhere like that. Um, but the new Beauvais has gotten. I mean, the I think the name and Pascal Raffi who bought it or who bought the name and then sort of revived it is. I mean, they're great watches, but not because of the name Beauvais, but rather because of what Pascal Raffi has done with the brand. So I think that this is why somebody says, more like what they say in Hollywood, what have you done lately? That's what I'm looking at. On the other hand, you have, uh, let me see, uh, one of the strangest brands and one of my favorite brands is Lang& and Heim. Well, when I got my first Lang& and Heim watch, I got it uh, when Marco Lang was there. He was the guy who did it all originally, and then I don't know what the situation was, but I think the people, he wasn't into making money as much, I think, as the people who bought into it wanted him to be. He was a an artist and craftsman and so forth. So you have that. He left and now has Marco Lang Watches, which is a separate entity. And I would never call that a micro brand. All right. And I wouldn't. They've done a few things. They've done a few new watches with Lang and Heim, but most of them either have Marco Lang's movements or some variation of it. The What is it called? The UWD 31. I think it's a 31.1 or 33.1, 33.2. The original one was small seconds. The new one has center seconds, and that's the only new movement I know of that they've done. So, yeah, how do they fit in? I don't know. Um, Sad Grandipur. No, I haven't. I didn't see that. Hey, Truman. History of a brand can be bought, but after a while, you have to show your worth. I agree, Truman. I agree 100%. I don't agree with the history. Quality and mission is more relevant to me. Parmigiani, Moser, Chopek are top quality without any. Yeah, I agree with that. Moser does. This is the funny thing about Moser. For I think it was like in the 90s and maybe even 80s, there was an H. Moser company, and they just the stuff they had wasn't very good. I don't even know if they made their own movements. And then somebody from the Moser family or involved with the Moser family took over, and that's when they really started having great watches. And then Milan took over and even did more with it. So that's sort of an interesting thing. Some of them really, I mean, you look at Beauvais and H. Moser, they got some watches that are that are, I think the inventor would be proud to talk about. Also, too, you have this is another thing. It gets really complex. Where you had H. Moser has bought into um, Agenor. Hermes has bought into Vaucher. Chanel has bought into Roman Gautier. You've got all of these different kinds of things going on. Now, an interesting thing, one of the more interesting things about it was Van Cleef and Arpels. Van Cleef and Arpels was bought by Richemont, and they always have a watch, a woman's watch, in the Grand Prix. They've had men's watches too, but only a couple. So they've always had movements by Agenor. Van Cleef and Arpels has, and they just won one award after another. Well, this last year, Van Cleef and Arpels, owned by Richemont, they decided they were going to have their own guys do it, the guys at Valfleur, and they did a really good job. So it's sort of an interesting thing. I don't know if they brought in some ringers or not, but it's something to watch. It's a moving target. Hey, Dominic, Invicta watches used to make pretty good pocket. Yeah, Invicta had it's a great example, Dom. They had a really big name, and now they're sort of considered like not so good. Yeah, that's a nice one. Right. Yeah. That Dumouriez. Here's the thing that's interesting about Dumouriez. I think Carlo, the guys who is behind Dumouriez, I think he's an industrial designer, and he does all of this stuff and knows how to design and everything. And he designed the entire watch. Uh and he's interested in going into watchmaking. And that's sort of an interesting thing. I hope he does. He's a very talented guy. And who knows? In the meantime, he can. I think if he makes watches the same quality as the one as the what's it called, the DM02, he can have a nice little business going for quite a while he gets up to speed on watchmaking. I would love to make my own movement, but I have no skills at all. I could put a watch together, and after losing half the pieces, but it's something, one does what one does, I guess. Um, hey, Koji, Chopek is pretty fantastic story of reviving a brand. Wish that would happen with Urban. Wait, no, UG. UG. What is UG? I forgot what UG is, but I hope so too. Uh-oh. I got the message. It's frying pan time, and today I really got a boogie. Yeah, Universal Geneve. Thanks. I knew it. I knew it sounded familiar. Anyway, everybody, Bill, baby. I'm not a baby. I haven't been a baby for a long time. Okay, guys. Well, listen. This afternoon at 4 o'clock, uh, we'll talk about. Let me see what topic we could have. A topic. What horological prejudices are you holding on to? That's a recommended topic. That's a great one, and we can talk about horological prejudices. In other words, what a horological prejudice is. You think some watch is the best or the worst, and you're wrong. Okay, just because it's a prejudice. Let's talk about that. That might be fun. In the meantime, everybody be safe, and if you got the time this afternoon, also take a look into that to the Watch Time show, October 20th in New York City. If you can possibly make it, do so. I'd like to meet all of you. Friday nights when we have our they have the cocktail party, and I I will be there. I got tickets for all 3 days though, but usually I only get to go one day before my wife has other business. So anyway, take care. See you this afternoon if you're around.